It was 1941. A storm gathered over Europe, and America was unprepared. Our tank production was a crawl, outdated, slow, built by hand, one piece at a time, a relic of a bygone era facing a mechanized blitzkrieg. The factories were too small, the methods too old, the numbers a whisper against a roar. We were building dozens, the enemy was building thousands. Time was not a luxury, it was a weapon, and it was pointed against us. From the factory floors of a nation at peace, a new kind of war was about to be waged. A war of gears and steel, of sweat and slide rules. A war that would not be won by generals alone, but by the quiet determination of those who built the machines. From Detroit, a city forged in the fire of the assembly line, came a voice. He was young, an engineer, not a soldier. His hands knew the language of wrenches and conveyor belts. His mind, trained in the relentless efficiency of automobile factories, saw a different path. He looked at the slow manual process of building a tank, a process that took weeks for a single machine, and saw not a fortress, but a product. He proposed an idea, simple, audacious, revolutionary. He said, "We will build tanks like we build cars." A continuous flowing river of steel, moving from one station to the next. Not a single static behemoth pieced together by a swarm of workers, but 1,000 tanks, born from a single unbroken line. He imagined a factory not as a workshop, but as a living organism. A heart of molten steel pumping through arteries of conveyor belts. He drew the blueprints for a new kind of arsenal, one powered by mass production. The generals listened, the seasoned military officials, the men of tradition. They saw his drawings, his calculations, his unwavering belief, and they laughed. Impossible, they called it. A tank was not a sedan. It was a 30-ton fortress of armor plate and cannon. It required precision, strength, a craftsman's touch. "You cannot stamp out a tank's hull like a car fender," one officer scoffed. "The tolerances are too fine, the weight is too great," argued another. They saw a young man's fantasy, a dangerous detour from established, proven methods. They saw the naivety of the civilian mind, trying to grasp the brutal realities of war. The idea was dismissed, filed away as a footnote, an amusing but impractical dream from the Motor City. For them, war was about strategy, tactics, and the courage of men on the battlefield, not the rhythmic hum of a production line. But the engineer from Detroit was not easily deterred. He had seen the future on the factory floors of Ford. He knew what American industry was capable of. He knew the impossible was only a blueprint that hadn't been built yet. He went back to his drawing board, the laughter of the officials still echoing in his ears. But it wasn't noise, it was fuel. He refined his designs under the harsh glare of an industrial lamp, fueled by coffee and conviction. He adapted the principles of Henry Ford's continuous flow assembly, but this was on a scale never before imagined. He designed massive presses that could stamp and shape thick armor plate. He conceived of overhead crane systems that would dance with heavy turrets, lowering them onto chassis with balletic precision. He mapped out a choreography for thousands of workers, each with a specific task performed in sequence. Welding stations would shower sparks as hulls took shape. Engine compartments would receive their powerful hearts. Tracks would be fitted like iron skin. Every movement was calculated, every second accounted for. It was a symphony of production, a mechanical ballet where the dancers were welders and riveters, and the stage was a mile-long factory floor. His blueprints were not just drawings. They were a declaration of war against inefficiency, a testament to the belief that human ingenuity could bend steel and time to its will. The skepticism of the military brass slowly gave way to desperate necessity. The war machine demanded more and more. With no other options, they gave him the green light. A vast expanse of Michigan farmland was transformed. The Chrysler Detroit Arsenal tank plant rose from the dirt. a monument to a single radical idea. Within months, the factory was alive. The air grew thick with the haze of smoke and the smell of hot metal. The ground trembled with the constant rhythmic pounding of machinery. Sparks flew from welding torches, illuminating the determined faces of men and women in coveralls. Cranes, like giant mechanical birds, lifted entire tank hulls through the smoky air. Conveyor belts, the lifeblood of the operation, carried parts and sub-assemblies in a ceaseless flow. It was the blueprint brought to life. A river of steel began to move. Slowly at first, then with gathering momentum. The first tanks, the M4 Shermans, began to emerge from the factory doors, not one at a time, not one a week, but in a steady, unending stream. They rolled off the assembly line by the dozens, then by the hundreds, a new kind of army, born from the factory floor. The laughter of the generals had fallen silent, replaced by the roar of engines and the clatter of tank treads on concrete. Faster than the enemy could destroy them, new tanks arrived at the front, a tide of American steel turning the course of the war. He wasn't a general. He didn't carry a rifle. But his machines changed everything. From a single, impossible blueprint came an unstoppable force, an assembly line that became a lifeline for the free world. He proved that wars are not only won on the battlefield, they are won in the mind, in the quiet rooms where engineers dare to redraw the boundaries of what is possible. They are won by the hands that build, by the sweat and determination of a nation united in purpose. His innovation was a weapon, forged not of explosives, but of pure, relentless efficiency. It was the triumph of the drawing board, the victory of the wrench and the rivet, the proof that engineering brilliance can win a war.